Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Notre Dame Primetime Live. I am your host, Ryan Faville, with my co-hosts Ben and Sean. We are back for another episode this week after another dominating performance by Notre Dame against Navy, 49-10. Well, so a lot of things we'll get into tonight. The second edition of the College Football Playoff Rankings dropped yesterday. We'll get into that. There were some interesting takes from some interesting media personalities on that, so we'll get into that. We'll break down what happened in the against the Navy game in a snowy South Bend. Talk about a commitment that Notre Dame landed in the 2027 class in a 4-star safety, and then we'll get into breaking down Pitt. Notre Dame has a showdown. They're probably their only test left on the schedule at Pitt. So we got a jam-packed show, but let's go ahead and get into it.
We waited. We usually do Tuesdays, but we all got wind about the commitment today, so we wanted to push the episode just to match.
Yeah, totally. My source on the swim team told me that that we were getting a commitment today, so we pushed off the show. Anyways, all right. The playoff rankings dropped yesterday night. Kind of what I expected. I think is probably what all of us expected would be the case with the matchups and everything. How do we feel about what the committee gave to everybody yesterday night?
So I will say this. I disliked how much last night they kept talking about the Miami thing, but two things I don't like about it. I like USF there. I thought there was a chance with JMU, and I think Louisville losing is the reason it's not. But I'm fine with USF. I don't like Miami holding if it was an auto bid, it'd be different. I don't like them holding the ACC slot when they literally have less than a 10% chance to play in the title game. It just makes no sense to have them locked in as that slot. Because
I think it has to do with the rank, where they're just ranked out right there.
But they have no shot to be that, though. They have no shot
to
be the ACC.
They really could. They have to.
They need Duke. They need SMU. They need Louisville. And they need Virginia, and they need Georgia Tech to all lose games.
Yeah, that's not impossible, though.
Yeah, it's very unlikely.
It's already happened once. This is the thing. I know offense to Virginia, Duke, and Louisville, but they're not teams that where you could consistently be like, okay, this week they're gonna dominate. They're teams that mess up.
We didn't know that Louisville was favored against Cal and got beat. Mm-hmm. So it's not a guarantee.
I picked Cal. So.
I did too, but I do think I agree with you, Sean, on the Miami thing. I don't think Miami. I'll be honest. I don't see a path for Miami to get into the playoff as an at-large bid. Even if they were to go 10-2, I think the ACC is so bad. It's so bad, and you look at how the committee views the bet. Miami's the best team, and they're at 16, 15 right now. The ACC is so bad. I don't think the committee is going to put in a team that couldn't even make the ACC championship. That's just my opinion. I think the only way Miami gets in is they have to win the ACC, which they need a lot of help for that to happen. And I get the whole, if they finish 10-2 and Notre Dame finish, I think by that time, Notre Dame's going to be in that 8-7 seed. As long as we handle business this weekend, where I don't think that they're going to be close enough to even have that discussion.
I think there's a world where both make it. But I think that the likelihood of Miami as an at-large is two paths. One, Texas, Oklahoma lose. They go up to from 15 to 13? Vanderbilt loses to Tennessee. They're up at 12. Then they just need an up one, maybe two. They're not out of it, especially if Notre Dame loses to Pitt. That definitely helps their at-large chances. But that's one path. I think, two, I do think there is a chance. I'm not saying it's a high chance, and I'm not saying it's the right chance. But I think there's a chance that if Miami ends the year, beats Pitt, like we played Pitt, and they start to trend into, because everything they've said about Miami is that they're just inconsistent. So if they are consistent the last 3 weeks of the season, I could see them being, okay, now we're going to factor the head-to-head with Notre Dame. And now we're going to factor swapping them. I don't see it happening, but I'm saying it's a possibility that at the end of the year, the committee could finally say Miami's consistent, head-to-head matters.
So what I think what's going to happen is, this is my prediction. I think Vandy drops to Tennessee. I think Oklahoma's going to drop to Alabama this week. I think Texas is going to drop to Georgia this week. Then, realistically speaking about it, then there's only 2 teams in front of Miami then that actually deserve to be in front of Miami, and it's debatable. Like, I think they're better than Utah. They deserve to be in over Utah. The only other team is BYU. And if BYU loses in Clifton next week, then BYU's out. BYU has to make the Big 12 championship to stay in, and they have to. And it would shock me a little bit, but it wouldn't shock me at all if they let BYU stay in after losing the Big 12 championship as a one-loss team.
It wouldn't shock me that if they're 11-2 and Miami's 10-2 too, that they do a swap. If they get dominated by Texas Tech again, that's where I think they could swap.
Well, but then goes the question of, like, okay, where was BYU? Because they're not going to drop BYU below Miami for losing a conference championship.
I think they would say, hey guys, BYU had 2 chances to play a playoff team, and they got dominated both times. I think if they get dominated. But
my thing is that I think BYU would have to be below Miami going into that game, and it had to be like Miami's the last team in. BYU, it's gonna have to be something like that, because I think we did it last year with SMU. They didn't boot SMU out after losing the conference championship game. So it really depends.
And here's my thing, right? Like,
I think what they're setting up for next week, Cincinnati BYU to be a game day. I feel like they're setting it up for us to be like, okay, here's BYU. They're gonna have a 3rd ranked win on our CFP poll, or 2nd ranked win on our CFP poll, so they match Miami.
So I want to get to this comment real quick. Frustrated Notre Dame fan says, the ACC may not even get a team in the playoffs. Duke has 4 losses, but only 1 conference loss, and has an easy schedule ahead. Tech and Pitt play each other. SMU plays Louisville and has more ACC losses. If Duke were to win the ACC championship, they were talking about this on the playoff committee show. If that happens,
Duke would be above USF if they beat Virginia this week.
I don't think so. Here's my thing. I don't think, and this is my personal opinion, I don't think a 9-4 Duke that wins the ACC with losses to UConn, Illinois, and I'm blanking on who their other non-conference losses. I don't think they should get in over a 12-1 James Madison who wins the Sun Belt, or especially if it's like a Tulane team. Oh, that's who their other loss was, to Tulane. They got blown out by Tulane.
Duke?
If Tulane wins the American, if Tulane wins the American, then I think
let's talk. Navy could beat USF this weekend, and this completely flip things.
Yeah.
Right. But
my main thing with that is that if it's Duke's going to have to beat Virginia. They're going to be above. They're going to, at the end of the day, they're not going to move USF above 20. Let's be real here. Like, we all know they won't, unless something crazy happens. Like, what's USF's remain? They don't play a single.
Like, if they go out there and beat Navy by, like, maybe they beat them by 40, maybe.
It would take a lot with no ranked games, and realistically, no one else. They have no one else ranked on their schedule. It would take a lot for him to go up above probably 19 or 18. And if Duke beats Virginia, I definitely see them just playing Duke at 19 next week.
I think for the group of 5 is either going to be USF or JMU. I think that if USF loses, I think JMU is going to be the team at 12-1. I don't think it's going to be.
I'm kind of surprised. I'll be honest. When these came out, I was surprised that South Florida was ahead of James Madison. I get the North Texas one, right? Because they blew out North Texas on the road. They played each other. Cool. James Madison, their one loss is to Louisville on the road, right? South Florida has a loss to an unranked Memphis and a Miami team that Louisville beat. So my thing is, why are we not giving them Correct. Is it
Because
just because
you got to look at James Madison's. Like, let's go look at. I'll pull it up right now. It's not that great. They have a very easy schedule. The Louisville game they played close, but that was their hardest game. The other ranked games, or the other games they played close, like Louisiana, who I think doesn't have more than 3 wins. Yeah, they're 4-6. Another close game, Georgia State, who's 1-8. Like they have close games against bad teams, and for you to be a group of 5 team like that, you have to blow out bad teams, and you have to win that Louisville game. A James Madison team, they have to basically be undefeated or have a loss to a top ranked team in the country.
This year depends on the year. This year.
This year, if this a year like the American sucks and like the Americans send in a 3 or 4 loss team, then yeah.
So are we just are we just the consensus then that whoever wins the American gets the G5 spot?
No, that's what I was just saying. I think that if USF loses to Navy this week, I think there's a chance you could see JMU above Navy.
Well, then wouldn't you see Navy get in there? Then if they beat South Florida?
Navy has a terrible loss. I don't think Navy would play in the Navy wouldn't play in the championship game though because they lost to North Texas. Would they? Because
they're leading the division right now.
The Navy but they played an extra game over everyone else. They have 5 wins compared to 4.
Navy, what sucks about them is even if they win the American, their playoff decision will be made before Army Navy.
So Navy they play South Florida, Memphis, and Tulane. Their final, like in the next couple weeks. So,
and I don't think they win all 3.
Navy doesn't play Tulane. I think their last game is Memphis, and then they have to wait until they play Florida, Memphis, and then they have to wait for Army at the end of the season. But and this is my thing. I'm confused on. Let's say hypothetically Navy gets the playoff spot, or Army Navy game 2 weeks before the playoffs. Does Navy not sit like, okay, realistically, Navy will, but like, would it be understandable for them to be like, let's send out the second unit, let's make sure no one gets hurt?
The only reason I think they should move the Army Navy game, even though I love it on its own week, but if it's like last year, if Army was the team at 12-1 that was picked in the playoffs, and then right before the playoffs they go to 12-2 and they play one less game to get chosen in.
Well, imagine if they lose to Army right after they get selected to play for the playoff, like. That's where I'm like.
I feel like that's why I don't think they'd put Navy above James.
That's true. Yeah.
I will say with this, people talk about it. I want to hear the same discourse of why is Notre Dame ahead of Miami? Well, why is Miami ahead of Louisville? Right.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of opinions about that human being.
I think Miami should be. So the same reason I think Miami should be ahead of Louisville, I think Notre Dame should be ahead of Miami.
Okay, I just looked it up. So if Navy were to win out and North Texas and Tulane were to win out, then Tulane and North Texas would be in the championship.
So then how did Army play for it last year?
Because Army was undefeated in the conference when they played for it.
Yeah.
And Army didn't lose. The thing is that they would all have 3 losses, and Navy would not have played Tulane. But Tulane would have beaten North Texas already, and North Texas was a win over Navy.
Army won the American.
Yeah, Army won the American, then lost the Army Navy game. But then was still had the bowl. They had the bowl game assigned to them before the Army Navy game, and they weren't even qualified to play in that bowl game.
I think that the Duke thing you brought up, while there's a chance, I think it's unrealistic. I still think that they would be like, well, this Duke team beat a ranked Georgia Tech, a ranked Virginia. Their wins right now are looking better than some of these teams. Maybe we'll stick them in.
So speaking of what Sean was talking about, we'll play this clip here, and then we'll kind of get into our thoughts on this afterwards.
That Louisville is ranked below Miami. No, because if you think that Louisville being ranked behind Miami mirrors the conversation that we had about Miami and Notre Dame last week, you were not listening.
See, but I'm with Biggs on this. This is a similar situation. Now, you're saying Miami has a best win than Louisville.
Yeah.
I don't know that it's much better because Louisville's best win is Miami.
Yeah.
And they're not that far apart.
And I actually think that, like, if Louisville were ranked ahead, I would be fine with that. The thing that bothered me last week was that Miami had a top 10 win and a head-to-head win over a team that were 8 spots behind.
Yes, I agree. And I had the same problem as you.
But I don't think that's the same thing that's happening here.
But you have an iron triangle here.
Yeah.
And you've got to rank one ahead of one and the other ahead of the other. And so this is the decision they've made, and I'm okay with that, because if you did who do you think would be favored against all these other teams, you'd have Notre Dame favored against more of them.
The college football playoff stuff, as you keep going into the weeks, gets more and more complicated because context expands and results expand. But if your takeaway from last week's discussion about Miami was they beat them head to head and the discussion should be over, that's not at all what ended up.
No, it has to be all other things equal. And it kind of was all other things equal last week. It's not all other things equal now, and it's not all other things equal with Miami and Louisville.
I completely disagree.
I disagree with him. I agree with Andy.
Ari's just a fucking idiot. I'm just gonna say he's not gonna watch the fucking podcast. If he does, and he's upset, sue me. I don't fucking care. Ari, like, you're fucking full of shit. You said last week, Miami beat Notre Dame. Explain to me how Miami at what was it, 8-2, and Notre Dame 7-2, and Miami at 7-2. Explain to me how that works. Like, how are they allowed to do that? Like, what happened to head to matter? No, you're a fucking idiot, Ari. You don't hold the same requirements for Notre Dame you do Miami because you hate Notre Dame. You don't like us. You tried to play the shit last year like, I took you guys in the playoffs. We all know for a fact that if Notre Dame lost to Georgia, it would have been, I finally believed in Notre Dame, but they proved me right again how they can't win anything. We know that's what he would say. The thing is this, Ari, you want to say, I look at context. You didn't look at context last week. Miami has considerably been worse since playing Notre Dame. Ask any Miami fan. They will say, our team has not looked that good. That was the best game of our season. The fact that's week 1, and that's the best game of our season? Are you shitting me? That team is not playoff worthy. They have a chance to prove they are by winning out and winning 3 games, but right now, they're not in that situation. You lose to a shitty SMU team. You lose to a Louisville team who's only ranked that high because they beat you. It's not the same. It's all like... He's so fucking stupid.
To give Ari credit to an extent, and I will say this, he was last season. I don't think he hates Notre Dame. I think that he probably dislikes the fans right now. But last year, he did pick us in the playoffs. I know what you were saying with the Georgia thing, but he was a Notre Dame. I don't want to use the word supporter, but he was behind Notre Dame last year. So I don't think he is a hater. However, I disagree with his take. I think that it's a hypocritical take. And I think he needs to understand that just the same reason Louisville might not look as good as Miami right now and they're ahead. It's the same with Notre Dame.
My thing is, I understand the take from Miami fans and other people of head-to-head should matter. The games have to matter, right? I get that, and I can understand that thought process, right? Even though I disagree. So here's my thing. Cool. Ari, if you want to say head-to-head matters, and that's nothing else matters. The metrics that all have that tell you Notre Dame is better than Miami, because every single metric that the committee uses, game control, FPI, SP+, strength of schedule, strength of record, all favor Notre Dame. All of them. The only thing Miami has on Notre Dame is, they beat them head-to-head. That's it. That is the only thing they have. If you want to sit there and say, cool, nothing else matters but the head-to-head, cool. But use that same logic when it comes to Louisville and Miami, and don't switch up and be like, it's not the same thing. It's completely different. No, it's not. Louisville went into Hard Rock and beat them. It's not different.
My main thing is this. I fully understand saying head-to-head matters. I agree with it. It matters to a point. But that shouldn't be the number one thing to decide everything. Because if head-to-head matters, But FSU should be in the playoffs because they beat Alabama. That's the problem with the head-to-head matters thing.
They don't have the same record, right?
But that's not. They don't have the same resume.
But
Notre Dame and
Miami
Miami do
Notre
not.
They
They don't.
I do think
They are not similar.
If you look technically at rankings for strength of schedule and strength of records, it's not far apart.
Pretty far. Let me pull it up. I'm pretty sure it's decently
Miami's
far.
Strength
Miami's
of records,
16.
I think 5 spots back.
Miami is 16 with strength of schedule. Notre Dame is 13. At least the last time I had looked at it.
That's strength of record, Ryan.
Strength of record, Miami's 15. Notre Dame is 12.
Notre Dame's strength of schedule right now is 30. I just checked.
No, that's remaining. I think is 30.
Oh, I thought remaining was 70. Take a look at that.
Oh wait, no, remaining 60. What am I looking at? Oh wait, strength of record we're 13.
Well, each site has a different. Each site
Yeah, ESPN's FPI is what I'm looking at here. Notre Dame on the FPI scale. This is where Notre Dame ranks, and this is what I'm saying is about the resume as well. Notre Dame FPI is ranked currently right now as the 5th best team. Where is Miami? They're all the way at 13. Where are they ranked overall on projected win-loss? Notre Dame projected win-loss right now is at 9.7. Where is Miami? Their projected win-loss is at 9. That's a whole 0.5 spots away from each other.
I mean, but look at strength of record and strength of schedule. Two big, well, not strength of schedule. They don't use that anymore. They use strength of record, but still look at strength of schedule.
Well, they use it. They consider it, but it's not as important. Yes.
Yeah. I agree with y'all. I'm just saying that I think some of the metrics with it aren't far apart. I still think Notre Dame should be higher. They look like the better team. Eye test is the main thing. Notre Dame's a different team now.
My main thing is when you look at Miami's resume compared to Notre Dame's resume is Notre Dame has a loss to the number 3 team in the country.